Okay, welcome back to Q2 2024 Investor Report. We got some feedback from our earlier Q2 24 report to investors, and there was some clarification that needed to be made on the return. So we're going to use this recording to clarify that for investors, clarify the returns, and maybe give just a little bit more color around what's happening on the property in terms of rents, occupancy, and expenses. Okay, so first of all, I said in the video earlier that there was a 1%, we were projecting a 1.7% cash on cash return. And it seemed to imply that that meant by quarter. And when what we actually meant was 1.7% projected or actual for the year. So then that would mean that the 1.7% would then be divided by the 4 quarters. Now in Q1, we projected 1% and we divided that by the 4 quarters. So we did gain a bit in Q2. We're hopeful that we'll gain a bit more traction also in Q3. We'll explain some of that in a minute. So for clarification, 1.7 is for the year. So the returns or the distributions that you saw were for 1.7% projection on the year of 2024. Okay, so what are some of the contributing factors? First of all, pro forma projected 5.5% annual. And as I said, we're on pace for 1.7, hopefully with a little bit of growth coming in there. We had a projected occupancy of 93.5%. We've had thus far this year 88% occupied. In the other video, we explained a little bit about how some of the tenants, the longer term tenants, with the name of that place is
Sleepover.
what's in the say again?
Sleepover.
Sleepover. We removed them. And so we're putting them back in with filling the units back in with regular residential tenants. We projected expenses for the year of let me back up on the occupancy. Occupancy projection 93.5, average has been 88%. We projected rents at $881 per unit on average. Actual has come in to $791 for the year per unit. That is a reflection of the overall market in the United States, as well as the sub-market, the local market of Wichita, Kansas. We have seen reports in the past couple of weeks of rents across the nation edging up a tiny bit. So we're hopeful that that will impact Main Street as well. We had projected annual expenses of $455,000. That includes taxes and insurance. We are currently at about $501,000 for the year. So that puts some pressure on the cash on cash returns as well. That is a result of, and you guys can clear me up on this if I hit it wrong, that's a result of an increase in the insurance of about $30,000 over projections. And then the other 20 was in payroll and the associated payroll expenses that come along with an employees. So that was a little bit under budget. The actual on it was 20. So that accounts for your 50,000 difference right there. And let's see. I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, so that takes care of rent, expenses, projections, projected occupancy, projected expenses, and projected income was is the 736,689. That is our projected annualized income.
That is our current T12 income.
That's our current T12 income. All right. So it looks like we're going to be a little bit higher than projected. We're going to go to work on our expense ratio. Our expense ratio is a little higher than we like to see. It's north of 60. We like to see it in the 50s at least, and in the low 50s. So we've put a lot of money into the property and CapEx, and we've done some deferred maintenance into the property to get it to show right and to look right and to be a good community for our residents. And so now that most of that is accomplished, and we don't see that we're going to be spending any more money on that, any significant money, now we can really go to work on tightening up the expenses and the expense ratio, which of course will boost NOI and hopefully boost cash on cash return. Did I miss anything, guys? Do we need to give more color to something else? Your turn.
Yeah, I'll do a little more color on the 1.7.
Okay.
That is the last quarter yearly projection is 1.7. When we did the distribution, since we still are finishing CapEx, we matched Q1 with that 1% year cash on cash, just so that we had a little holdback in case something doesn't finish quite right. If everything finishes right with CapEx, then we'll catch that up at the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. So when you look at your distributions and the amount that you received should be in harmony with what we've tried to explain here and clear up. Jonathan, you have any other feedback or comments on this?
No, I do think that a couple of things to point out, right, is the what's been happening, just to give a little bit of insight, which I think we just did discuss in the previous video, but what is currently, right? We are north of 94% occupancy. Rents, in terms of discussions for concessions, we've dropped our concessions because we don't need them anymore because of the stabilization that we're at. We've had, because of the inquiries and the traffic that we've been able to, achieve into the property, we don't need those concessions and those write-offs, which obviously will increase our NOI as well. And along with as the rents go up and the occupancy goes up, then you actually naturally start to cut some of your expenses, because what happens is when you have a lot of vacant units, your expenses are higher because we're having to carry the water and the power and any of those kinds of repairs that are happening in those vacant units. And so when your occupancy is down, your expenses are going to be higher naturally. Your on-site maintenance person, it's a lot harder to be able to maybe figure out if you can share them with another property, or if there's any kind of those things that you can possibly decrease because of that, because you need them more often because you have vacant units, which I know seems a little bit strange because you would think that work orders come from tenants, but actually we get more work orders on vacant units than we do work orders when we have tenants in them. And so, with the increase in occupancy, then it will help moderate some of those expenses as well. And so, as Paul and, I think Mike were alluding to, right, is also as we come to a close on our CapEx projects, then, we'll be able to really put us into stabilization mode and, make sure that we're streamlining. It'll be easier to identify where we can cut costs, and what we can do about increasing the rents. So.
Perfect. And you've got turn costs also in vacant units. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So that is the edit to the Q2 report. For those of you that gave us feedback and responded and asked questions, we greatly appreciate it. We did learn from this, and that is that we need to be even more clear on our communication. We're in it every day, and so it kind of is clear to us, but we'll certainly honor that and speak with much more clarity. If any of you have any questions or conversation about what we've discussed here in this video or the earlier video, again, feel free to reach us. I think we've been very responsive to you all. Communication is the key. We still are in love with the property. It's going well, and we get great feedback on the property. It's showing very well. And now that we're in year 2 and we've got 3 more years of our business plan remaining, this is where we really get to tune it up and really make it sing. So we appreciate you all, and just feel free to reach out to us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.